I recently attended an open meeting of the League of Women Voters of Southwest Nassau County. It was held at Long Island's Hewlett-Woodmere Library. The topic was Hidden Hunger on Long Island. I was shocked to hear there are 300,000 people who cannot afford sufficient food in our two counties. Among them, a majority are children. Children who go to bed hungry every night. If I heard there are 300,000 people in the entire United States that are hungry, I would be appalled. Hungry people? 300,000 of them? In Nassau and Suffolk counties? Blew my mind. I had a strong desire to leave the meeting when I heard that. I desperately wanted to escape that fact's reality and immediately retreat to my house with its overstuffed refrigerator. I wanted to try to forget the horror of that fact and literally had to force myself to stay. I also forced myself to remain quiet when well-meaning people in the audience missed the point. One woman said we should turn our parks into farms to feed the hungry. That's a noble thought, but that would only relieve the problem a bit and locally. It would certainly not solve the problem or its cause. A man said the problem is the influx of people from the high rent of New York City. Does knowing where hungry people come from make them less hungry or even less worthy? That fact does nothing to solve the problem and is not even the problem. The representative from the Interfaith Nutrition Network, the N, said something that brought back fond memories of my father. She paraphrased what my father taught me. He taught me that when someone asks for help, you do not question their need. Proof of need, and especially hunger, is not required. If someone says they need help, that is reason enough to help them. Likewise, the N does not ask for proof of need. If someone presents themselves as hungry, they feed that person. That attitude is what I feel America is about. After all, we're said to be the most generous people in the world. The Island Harvest and the Interfaith Nutrition Network were the two organizations with spokespersons at the meeting. They worked together trying to feed all those hungry people with very limited resources. We should all donate money and volunteer time to help them in their work. They perform an important service as other charities do, but they can only work on the symptoms of the problem. The real enemy, the real sickness, is poverty. The number of impoverished may be higher now due to recent recession and the severe storm, but the reason is not pertinent to the hunger of anyone. The richest country in the world, the breadbasket of the world, can't feed its own people. The richest two counties in the richest country in the world can't feed its own people. Shame. Shame! Among these hungry people are the working poor. Their earnings can't feed their families adequately, but do not want to be idle and resort to welfare. They work instead for starvation wages and rely on the food stamp program. Our minimum wage is half the poverty level. Why must we subsidize companies that pay starvation wages with food stamps for their employees? We subsidize employers' low wages and blame the employees for needing food stamps. Do we allow this because we don't want to pay $1.05 for a hamburger that now costs $1? If so, again I say, shame. The two major arguments against increasing the minimum wage are: one, employers will not hire more people, and two, teenagers will lose their employment. Both arguments are either false or misleading. They demonstrate either ignorance or malice. I believe those arguments with inhumane consequences ignore the real world. They are based on incorrect assumptions. The first argument is patently false. Lower wages do not facilitate employment. I was consultant to perhaps 200 different companies in my many years of consulting. I found employers do not hire or retain employees that are not needed by the business, regardless of how little they cost. A case in my memory was a hotel chain's airport hotel. In the 1960s, their waiters were paid 50 cents an hour, plus tips, of course. When it was shown that one less waiter was needed, the management was pleased and very appreciative of reducing the staff cost by 50 cents per hour. Furthermore, employers will not hesitate to hire an employee if one is needed to serve a business need. That same hotel management was shown that employing extra chauffeurs used to cruise the airport terminals brings in business that would exceed their cost. Their management was equally pleased and very appreciative of the probability of more hotel business. They hired the additional drivers at a high multiple of 50 cents an hour. The only reason nearly every employer employs anyone is because they need them to serve their customers or serve another business need. The second frequent argument against increasing the minimum wage is it will hurt teenage employment. That may be true, but teenagers live with and are subsidized by their parents. They do not live on their wages alone, generally. What this argument really says, it's okay to pay sub-living wage so only teenagers can work at those jobs. A head of household or anyone who must live on their earnings can't survive working on such jobs. A higher minimum wage will help reduce important unemployment of heads of families and single households. If a higher minimum wage means sacrificing teenage employment in favor of family and single household employment, that would be a good consequence of a higher minimum wage. Most people don't know that you're not eligible for food stamps if you cannot show an income with which to use the stamps. That means the working poor are a major recipient of food stamps, second only to those on welfare, since they have incomes from a welfare stipend. Basically, the recent cut in food stamp program hurts the working poor the most. How stupid is that double whammy? Feeding the hungry is important work, but that is working with the symptoms. The sickness or cause of hunger is poverty. In the United States of America, the cause of poverty must be ideologically driven stupidity. I often hear, where will we get the money to pay for whatever happens to be the subject? Well, when feeding the hunger by eliminating poverty is the answer, I say any place we can. We must feed the hungry first and end poverty concurrently. If it takes taxes, so be it. Oh my, I said that word, taxes, didn't I? Why don't I listen to the fact that higher taxes will hurt the economy? That might be true if taxes are made too high. It's also true when corporate taxes place corporations at a competitive disadvantage. Corporations need to be competitive in a world market. That may be the only place where a tax reduction is justified when people are hungry. Higher taxes might affect new business formation, but only the formation of the most marginal enterprises. Since marginal enterprises are at a high risk of failure, they will have a difficult time raising capital. Within reason, higher taxes never prevented any investor from investing if the risk of failure is outweighed by the potential profit. Again, within reason, higher taxes never discourage the formation of a new business when the business has a reasonable chance of success, and never prevented any employer from hiring anyone needed to serve a business need. Serving customers or other business needs is the only reason anyone ever gets hired. An increase in the proper taxes may outweigh the bad if the taxes are used for such things as infrastructure improvement and other things that increase employment. The additional spending of the newly employed people will boost the economy, cause more people to be hired, and subsequently increase tax revenues. Increased tax revenues can ultimately result in tax reductions. I know what I'm saying sounds partisan, but I know my heart and head is focused on humanity, sound economics, reality, and common sense. I believe in America enough to know we will eventually do the right thing. My question is, why not put an end to people's suffering now? In conclusion, let's get real. Ideology has no place in economics or humanity. Ideology rules on both sides of the political aisle. We need to drive any extremists out of the major political parties and into the far right and far left parties where they belong and used to be. We must learn that blaming the victim is morally wrong. Inhumanity is always wrong. Ideology dictating our laws is most certainly wrong. Our liberty is in most danger from being ruled by extremists. Adhering to ideologies will not restore America to some never existed and imagined utopia. It will only increase inhumanity, and if we push extremism too far, it will ultimately introduce anarchy.